Hello, everybody. We are here for Tuesday Talks. Now, Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual, finding out what makes them tick, and what do they care about, and how their career reflects that, and what do they really care about, and why they do these things. So today's guest is Andrew Douglas. Andrew is a previous firefighter, paramedic, who struggled with PTSD. His family sold everything and moved to Costa Rica. He co-founded Siento. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I'm sure Andrew will correct me. It's a mental wellness app for first responders and high stress professionals. Let's get Andrew on and hear all about it. And where we are. I see you there, Andrew. Let me just accept that from you. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time out and hopping on to the talks to share your journey.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I've done a short introduction for you, but you're the best person to do it justice and expand onto it. So if you just let the audience know who you are, what you do, and the biggest question that every Tuesday Talk listener have on their mind is, why do you do it, Andrew?
All right. So Andrew Douglas, I'm currently live in Costa Rica. Originally, I lived in Washington State, where I was a firefighter and a paramedic. I started out in 2005 as a volunteer firefighter and was on and off until 2011 when I went to paramedic school. And so I did some time doing that and went to finally got hired on to the fire department, and like right off the bat my kid was born premature, and so he was in the NICU and I had to start my job, and at that same moment um, I had a premature baby that was in cardiac arrest, and uh, yeah, so I was deeply affected by that kind of early on in my career, not really realizing that that had affected me. And so, as my career progressed, I was seeing more and more trauma, and it was starting to like weigh on me in 2018. And again, I didn't recognize my symptoms, and a lot of my friends in the first responder industry don't, because we're not connected to our feelings. Like, we don't understand. I mean, I couldn't tell you what joy was a year ago. And now I can, right? Like, working through my recovery. And so, I had a suicide attempt in 2019, and luckily somebody was looking out for me that day. And that was kind of my awakening of like, hey, I need to get help. And, I didn't put everything into it because I put the job and everything first. And so, yeah, I ended up walking away from the job due to PTSD, and kind of had my identity crisis. And and now I'm co-founding a startup, Siento. You were close. Siento. It means to feel. It means to feel in Spanish.
Wow, and such an amazing journey to that you've just shared, right? So, um, having that close call of uh, to to end it all, right? So that's is and it's such a stressful environment, and that you're in as a first responder and paramedic is I can nobody thinks of I'm just thinking, all these first responder paramedics, nobody thinks that way, because the time paramedics do turn up, we are more focused on our situation that we need support in, and you're here to help us, right? And thank you very much for helping. And now we're going to look after more further to what the solution is, and then you're off to the next one, right? So
Exactly.
it, just just for gauging the listeners who are listening to it, on an average day, how many responses would you have to attend?
Well, towards the end of my career, that went down, luckily, because they added another paramedic unit. But at like the peak of my career, I was running anywhere between 12 and 20 calls, like transports a
Wow.
shift. So, I mean, it was common to not sleep at all,
Wow.
or common to just be continually running all night. And so, it really affected my sleep big time. My sleeping patterns were horrible. So.
And how long is that shift? Is it like 8 hours, 12 hours?
24 hours. So we work 24 hours and then you have one day off, 24 hours, one day off, 24 hours, 4 days off. So
Wow.
uh, it can be brutal. And a lot of times I would pick up overtime. Um, and towards the end of my career, I picked up overtime to avoid being at home
Mm-hmm.
just because, at work, I could put on this facade and, at home, I can't do that, right? My wife
Of
knows me,
course.
and so it's harder to do that and keep that mask on. And, that was like hurting so bad because I was just keeping it all inside of me. And
Mm.
so, that was powerful.
Wow. So it's this is something very amazing to take away from what I'm hearing is, it's about also sharing and opening up that we need because typically as I would say generally as well as guys, we don't share, right? We don't share what's actually happening to us, and therefore we end up bottling everything. We are bottling, and what happens to that bottle when it keeps getting filled? It has to bust open one day, right? So, and that's a bit too late. Or if it doesn't bust open, it just keeps drowning you. The weight of that bottling up everything takes its toll as well, and you do what you think it is best that time, and you're thinking of just yourself because you're the one suffering, and your decision at that time, whatever you decide, doesn't matter because you're not thinking of anybody else, although it does affect what you decide to do or around everybody around you. But great that you're here to share that journey with us, and Siento, was it? Yes, and
Yeah.
co-founder Siento, so that other paramedics can, first responders can also, and it's a great app to for them to have it. If you're, I'm sure if they have time, they log on to it and go through whatever that is, which we'll discuss further on as well what that is. So when and now you're in Costa Rica, take us through how that happened. Was that related to yourself? Was that the case that obviously we needed to just leave everything behind and start afresh, everything new, or was there another story behind this?
Yeah. So when we had kind of decided to move to Costa Rica a while, and I hadn't admitted to myself that I was done with the job yet, but I think subconsciously I was. And so yeah, I decided to walk away, and we said, okay, if we're going to do it, let's just do it right. And we sold everything, and um, sold our house, sold all of our belongings for the most part, which actually was kind of free in getting rid of stuff. I'd tell you that
Wow.
much. Um, so yeah, so we came down here, and it's quite the journey being here. It's like it's you have to keep your expectations low. It's just a different country, and they do things a different way. And if you have a like American mentality, you're not gonna like it, And so like we've like accustomed to the culture to speak Spanish and hang out with locals and try to participate in community events. And so yeah, it's been a really cool experience for my kids because they miss their friends. Don't get me wrong, like that was a challenge. They're 7 and 9, but they're able to experience a different culture, which is
Mm.
not what they were experiencing before where we lived, and so it's a really good opportunity for them to grow. But yeah, I mean, if anybody's thinking of doing it, I say just do it. Like, you know, you got to take risks in life, and I took a risk, and if I hadn't have taken that risk, I wouldn't have met Jason, my co-founder, and yeah, he lives down here in Costa Rica. He's Canadian. Yeah, I wouldn't have met him. So take risks. It's worth it.
I love this because I am a firm believer of if you need to have different results or you're looking to achieve something and it's not happening where you are, you definitely need to change your environment and
Mhm.
location. Definitely need to change location. And if it's to a whole different place, that's even amazing, because obviously, recommendation obviously is to move around the city if you can, go into a different city, but because you're still in the same I'll say the same culture and the same atmosphere still because you haven't really changed. You just changed the city. So maybe you'll be around different people, but
Mhm.
the air is the same, so to speak, right? So you're still having the same frame around you, the same mind frame is still around you. And I love that you obviously gone to Costa Rica. A lot of people think of Bali and Costa Rica and so forth.
Mhm.
And I believe that if you go to these far places, as you said, the culture is different. So therefore, you need to totally adjust to the whole new environment. Therefore, it pushes you to be out of your comfort zone already, which you were out of your comfort zone by moving to the whole new place. But then you are pushed furthermore now because you need to understand the locals, integrate yourself, engage and enjoy. Therefore, you're gonna have a completely new mindset being created, and then from there you the only way is up and you're gonna grow. Nothing bad can happen over there. I mean, obviously ups and downs are still
Mhm.
there, but it will be much better than where you were before. So that's brilliant that you shared this amazing move as well. I on this video, as we are whoever's watching with us, they can see a nice green background there
Yeah,
from your
it's
window.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's such an amazing background there. And it's real. It's not even a green screen. Obviously, the people who are listening to this on a podcast, which will be in a few months' time, probably recommend come to the Instagram and see the video so you can see the nice background in the back. So I wanted to also ask when you had that pivotal moment and you realized, you know, uh, you had a near suicide attempt and so tendencies there. So when you had that pivotal moment of okay, enough is enough, what was that like? What was going through your mind that time? What steps did you have to take to make sure that everybody, including yourself, was all right?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, it was really hard in the beginning because there's a big stigma, I guess you could say, within the first responder community that you're weak if you can't handle the job and you're supposed to like suppress these feelings and so there was like a lot of shame like after I like you know because my friends found out like my we have something called peer support and I reached out to them and they came over. So like all these people know. So I was like had so much shame and that was like very powerful for me. Like shame. I had like a very I call it like a shame voice. Like that's inside of your head that's telling you that you're bad or you're
Mm-hmm.
horrible and you're not a good person or you're weak. And so I really had to like battle through that and go reach out to a psychologist and I found one that was based with first responders and that was you know very helpful because it was somebody I could trust that understands what we go through on a daily basis. And so yeah, I worked through that and it was a lot of ups and downs. I actually did end up going into an inpatient facility a couple of years later. That was let's see 2021 I'm wanting to say or
Okay.
2020 or 2021. It was COVID. I remember. It's horrible. But yeah, it was that's like really where I started to like connect with my feelings and connect with my body and really do like self-care and do the things that you should do that you I hadn't been doing before, like getting good sleep, even taking a shower, like
Mm.
if I would like isolate in my room for days and getting out of bed to go shower is like that one little first step of getting out of isolation. So it's just taking opportunities every day to grow a little bit more and realize that you're going to have setbacks and that's okay and that's you just got to learn from them and push forward and it's not easy but like to heal like you have to feel the pain so yeah, it was a journey, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
And I really, really fascinated by this, what you've just shared there as well, in terms of the ups and downs, and that even if, although you said in first responders, it's, I think it's in general, we, people sharing their feelings is just looked at upon as weak, especially if you're a guy. So, and it's great that we are also touching upon this, in terms of the guys listening here. We need to talk. We need to talk. Just talk, because that helps. Whatever that
Mhm.
is, it just helps. And there's no weaknesses in there. It's again, what I come across is it's a society that creates that circle around us, and okay, you cannot say these things. And 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 you just touched upon something, and how I picked it up was, it's such, if we are not doing those things, we are not checking on ourselves, right? So we let's say you're the, the paramedic truck that you were driving, or a van, or whatever it's called, which has the ambulance or whatever it has, right? And everything. You were making sure that that was in top tip condition, checking every time, right? Regular checkups were performed on that vehicle to make sure that it runs, gets to where it needs to go, come back, and stays in position. But we weren't doing that on ourselves, right? So that we are
Mhm.
also in a tip-top condition, so that when we turn up, we are able to help. Yeah, we are able to help, but then we are running on a low battery, right? We're just draining ourselves. We don't do that to our phones, or our laptops, or MacBooks and so forth. We make sure that it's fully powered up because we need it. And if it's running low, we stop using it and put it on
Mhm.
charge and then go away, right? But when it comes to us, again, the society takes over, and we're like, oh, we cannot do any of these things. We can't just walk on the grass and or look up at the sky whilst we're walking, because that will be look, it'll just look weird. But hang on, if that helps you recharge yourself, why not? Oh, we can't go to the beach and just sit down and stare at the sea. No, no, you can't do that. Right? If that helps you to recharge and clear your mind, go and do that. But we don't do that, because that will just is considered no, And if you talk about,
Mhm.
oh, I need to go and look after myself, then you were like, you just frowned upon, and looked at, okay, what's happening to you? You okay?
Yeah.
As something is that's what you just talked about is not right, but whatever is happening is okay. That you're supposed to have that, as people like to call. I've heard it so many times. Man up, man up. You're like, well,
Mhm.
yeah, I am manning up. That's why I'm asking this, and I love that you just brought that to my mind, and it's an amazing journey that you shared there so far. So when you pivoted, or and
I
you were,
do
yeah,
I
go on.
do have I want to just bring up something real quick here, and I think this is important. You're talking about like men not being able to like share their feelings, and I hear like a lot of women say like, "Oh, my husband won't share his feelings with me," but I know I personally experienced in the past, and by women where they like shame you for expressing your feelings, and you're not as much of a man, and so yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of that needs to change too. Like there needs to be openness across the board. So yeah, that's I just want to
That
touch on that.
that's actually a very brilliant shout. Actually, that's a very brilliant shout, because that is also correct. Because again, they are also influenced by the society, right? Because again, there's a version of a man who needs to be this, and therefore you can't be anything else. I can't remember where I heard this, and you just reminded me of that as well. And this was, it apparently was a comedy sketch, and but what he said in that comedy sketch was absolutely correct about men, in terms of um, women and dog are loved unconditionally, right? But men is loved by what he provides or what he is, and that's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's the condition of love on a man. Otherwise, you're just nobody,
Yeah,
and
exactly. It's tough.
and therefore it's tough. And then to have to uphold that position, for example, then the man has to do what he has to do, right? Maybe not talk, if that's what it is. And it's great that you reminded me of all this, and you brought up that
Mhm.
subject as well. It's very important. So when you pivoted and you also obviously went through ups and downs and the psychiatrist, was there a change of routines or certain routines that you took upon and that you were or you're still carrying on with it? I'm sure you did quite a few different things that helped you. What is the things? What are the things that you are still doing or you started with?
Yeah, I mean, I like to give a lot of advice, but I don't always follow it all the time. So bear that in mind. It's just it happens, right? You can't be perfect. You're
Of
gonna
course,
have ups and downs,
we are all human.
right? Yeah. So you learn from your failure. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's just basic things like in the morning. Again, here's not something I follow right now. I didn't make my bed this morning, but just starting with simple things like that, taking a shower, and I find like meditation like very valuable. Whether that be like around bedtime or even just you can go for like mindful walks. So like we planted a bunch of different rare fruit trees on our farm because we want to reforest our land with food, basically is the concept. And so just like walking around and like being appreciative and like being in the moment and grounding yourself, right? Like bringing yourself into that present moment really is powerful of like working through your struggles. And again, I don't do that all the time, but I know when I know when I need to do that. Or, if I'm starting to get really stressed out or angry, go hop in a cold shower. Like that will reset you. So yeah, I mean, it's it's a struggle. Like yeah.
It's great that
Up
you've
and down.
shared. Of course, but you do have some steps that you do it as and when it's required, and I like to say it's best not to beat ourselves off the days when we don't do it because we are allowed to also
Mm-hmm.
be ourselves. Okay, if you're not going to feel like doing that thing every day, but if it helps and you remember it to do it the day you remember it, just do it that day, right? So because
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
that time is needed, right? Because it's just popped up in your mind. The day is not coming up in your mind and your day is okay. Yeah, carry on. It's fine. So that those days when but I love that of making the bed, cold shower, and I mean, cold showers in Costa Rica must be amazing anyway because it's warm there. I'm saying,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't know if you can
uh,
see, I'm sweating right now. It's hot.
oh, it's not visible here at the moment. I'm sure probably you are because I'm sure it's humid and warm. So this is quite amazing. So being in Costa Rica and then finding or founding this app, take us through the journey of that. So what this app is about
Mhm.
and how you came about founding it.
Yeah. So, like I said, like I wouldn't have met my co-founder if I didn't take the risk to come down here. And early on, Jason and I met, and this is a year and a half ago, and we really, really built a great friendship. And I was very vulnerable with my new friends where I wasn't in the past. So I would explain like, hey, you know, I have PTSD. I struggle. Sometimes I isolate myself. I might not call you, and like, I'm sorry. It doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means that I'm struggling, and please reach
Mm,
out to me. And so we had that like true friendship that we had built. And one day we were sitting drinking a beer, and I had kind of been struggling, and I said like, man, I wish I could build this app where I could type how I feel and then just burn it. And it, like the page catches on fire and it disappears. And so he's been in the tech world for about 20 years, and that kind of got his mind like going. Like, what kind of insights could somebody get from that? And so, like, we pivoted a handful of times, like with the idea and how we're going to execute the idea. Um, so basically, the idea behind our app is that we will build a community. We need to build this community around it with first responders, high stress professionals. That's anonymous so that they can, you have lot of like retaliation
mm,
and a lot, we talk about that stigma. that kind of prevents people from asking for help. And so ultimately, our long-term goal is to do that, is to get people connected to care. But the first step in the journey is that you really truly need to be able to connect with your feelings to be able to get into therapy and do, solid progress in your recovery. And so the app it has this the basic screen where we're trying to keep everything very simple and easy for people to deal with. But you basically go in there, type how you feel, and or you could talk about a bad call you went on, or whatever it is. And then from there, you utilize AI to detect the topic, and then as well as the feelings that are associated with that topic that they were talking about, so that they can get insight on their feelings. Because I didn't understand my feelings. I mean, really, I'm building what I wanted, or I would have wanted. And so like having that ability to like get something off your chest, but then also have somebody that knows what you're going through to give you some support on the community side of things, is a good start, and trying to get people help. And so we're trying to solve that problem. There's a lot of great resources available for mental health. The problem is nobody solves the problem. And the underlying problems that we have, we're twice as likely to commit suicide. There's more firefighters that have died from suicide this year than have died in the line of duty, like from a fire or in a car wreck or something. And we need to solve that. Like, how do we solve that? We solve that through being able to express our feelings and making access to care rapid, because first responders, when they ask for help, it's too late. They're not the average population. So, getting them to that care is going to be super important. But then also utilizing their peer support. Peer support is so important, because people can understand what you're going through and have that empathy for you while you're going through some of the most vulnerable moments in your life. So yeah, that's the basis of our app, and we've had a lot of great feedback. We're marketing right now towards first responders in Washington State, and then we hope to expand from that. But we have like a lot of research and testing to do, and so we're trying to keep our cohort a bit small, so we can build a really good foundation for a company, and then we can scale off of that. So yeah, it's really exciting, and the feedback we've been getting, like today I talked to a guy from Missouri that I have no clue who he is, but he heard about me, and he's like, "You want to talk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so we talked, and he's like, "This is such a great idea. Like, I love it." And so to hear that from somebody I don't know, of course, I think my mom's watching. I don't know if she still is, but she's going to tell me, like, "Oh, that's a great idea," or your friends are going to tell you it's a great idea. So for like any founders listening, like, go outside of your comfort zone and find people that are your end users, and talk to them, and know all their pain points, and know what they need to be able to, or that product needs for the user to be successful. And so yeah, it's been a fun journey, and it's a lot like being a firefighter, right? Because of downtimes, and then like, holy cow, we have so much to do. And
yeah. And I really love the whole concept behind it. It's pretty much what you would have needed at your time when you were at your peak. This would have supported and guided you. And how I'm also looking at it, even if this existed, you would have not known if this culture wasn't there. So you are also creating that culture of asking for help, checking out the app, and I heard you mention community behind it. So a community of people who will actually talk about these apps and will pick up on the person who's going through this, because I'm sure there are telltale signs which you might be able to now pick up a lot quicker than before. If you just see somebody across you who's a firefighter, first responder, and is tensed up, right? So you would know that, okay, he's not going to ask for help now, but by the time he asks, it's too late. So I think I need to intervene with all these solutions that you've just come up coming and creating for them. And I love the community side of things. So how does that work? So is the community are volunteers, doctors, and so forth, or are they your own peers who are using the app and interacting with each other?
So the idea would be that it's your own peers. And we're not going to like filter it like versus police versus paramedics.
Oh,
So it'll
okay.
be like an open community. So we're building it for people. It's not, I mean, it's not just for first responders. That's just what we're targeting as far as what we feel like is a big pain point for them. And so it will be available on the App Store for people to download and utilize. But yeah, I mean, it's sorry, I lost my train of thought. When I get talking about my feelings and emotions, I start to get flustered because it's still super uncomfortable for me, right? Like being able to talk about my feelings and emotions
of course.
It's still a struggle.
No, but it's great to hear. Obviously, we were talking about the app with the peer support will be there, and you also mentioned that it's all anonymous, so they won't literally know. Okay, even if it's available to all, but you won't necessarily know which department and who it is pinpointing the identity, which is actually an amazing concept in terms of getting support from each other, so you might be going something and you've put it through in there, okay, this and this is happening to me. Somebody might have just overcome that maybe 2-3 weeks ago or months ago. They can now support you, okay, do this, do that, or speak to this person, for example, share the details of where they went to and to deal with it. So I love that idea behind it. That's how I'm envisioning it. I'm sure it will evolve into much more and much better. I'm envisioning it very simple things. But it's I love the concept. What was the app called again? Sorry.
So Siento is our company. So the app will be Siento.io on the app store. So yeah, I mean, it's if anybody wants to check out our website to see what we're doing, it's www.siento, which is SIENTO.io, and you can learn more about what we're doing. And if you like to join like our wait list, like feel free. It's open to anybody, and we want like I said, we want to target first responders because it's a community that's underserved, but we recognize as well that I mean, mental health is a struggle for the entire world. So it's not isolated to just first responders. So yeah, check out our website and join us in our journey.
I love that. I love that. So I would recommend everybody who's been listening to this now, go and check out the website and sign up to it, because mental health is real, even though we don't accept it sometimes. It does creep out of nowhere, but it is building it at the back, right? We know about it, it's building it there. We just don't acknowledge it. And by the time we do acknowledge it, it's too late. Therefore, definitely go and check out the website and sign up to whatever the future holds
so
for your company.
We're doing our beta. About to do our beta testing, so we already have those people ready. So we're, our business to business model, we're reaching out to first responder departments and it's that we're trying to build a service for them that is a benefit, so that it can help their people, but then also show the value to those fire departments by utilizing regional data, so they can see like, hey, how's the health of our region? Like, not giving away individual fire departments, because we do want to keep that anonymity piece, but how can we see value from this? And so we're going to have like a dashboard for them to be able to get some insight for them as well, so they know that their money's going to where it should, because there's a lot of programs out there that,
of course,
aren't. You waste a lot of money and it doesn't solve any problem. So
yeah, of course not. And I love that you're already considering all these avenues for the end user to be actually more aware and more uplifted by by the usage of it and get something back rather than just pouring themselves in and then still being the same, right? It's great that you've already pinpointed that and you're thinking of this. So just taking us back into your life in Costa Rica now, since you've been there and you obviously started this company. How's life been since you've been there? You mentioned your farm and you're cultivating it, so there's food on your land. So how's your life in Costa Rica now since you've relocated? I'm sure that's it's a polar opposite life as you mentioned in the beginning. Let's take us through a general day in terms of how does your day goes. Obviously, it will be different for anybody else, but how is your day on a general day?
Yes. So I mean, Costa Rica, like if you go to any new country, you have to like get used to the customs and how things are. And if you come down here with a mentality that you want American lifestyle, like it's going to be super frustrating. So we've kind of learned to assimilate, and we have a really cool community we're in. We're up in the mountains, and we're not close to the beach, so it's way cheaper. You actually have to speak Spanish here versus the beach where you could speak English and somebody's going to understand you. So it's just a different way of living, and everything's very slow paced, and there's no rush for anything. You could have like somebody coming to do a repair and they just won't show up and never call you again. Like it just happens, right? And you just have to learn to like, it is what it is. Like,
of course,
I think it's a good example of like, you can only control you. Like, you can't control anything outside of your sphere of influence, right? So we can control how we react to that, and for me, I just kind of go with it. And I've learned to be like much more laid back, but lately, I mean, I try to talk to any end user that I can right now, to make sure that like we're building something that like they truly will use and can make a difference in their lives and hopefully save a life like that. If we can save one life like that, we're the best company out there. Like that, like that makes me so proud. Like because it's something that I want to reduce, and I've lost friends, and yeah, it's
100%.
not the way to go. So, but
No.
I mean, we like I said, like we have our fruit farm, and it's a lot of exotic trees. So we have, I mean, anything you can think of that's tropical, we probably have. Like one of my favorites is like this it's called a blue Java banana, and it tastes like vanilla ice cream, and it's so good. But we have
wow.
probably 8 different varieties of bananas on the farm, and the idea about permaculture, I don't know if you've heard of that or any of your viewers have, but the idea is that you want to like kind of mix, and I do a hybrid of agroforestry and permaculture because we don't use any chemicals. So the idea is that you replant trees on your farm. Obviously, it's better for, instead of having cow grazing open land, to have more trees. So it's all edible. And so, and you build different layers in the system. And like, for instance, we're going to, in between our fruit trees, we're going to plant corn initially. And then we plant a ton of beans around that because that is really good fertilizer for the soil. And so then after that, then you get squash in there, and the squash keeps, not tons of insects, but some insects, as well as, your soil covered and protected. So yeah,
as a deterrent.
I mean, I haven't done as much as I would like. It's getting close to rain. I mean, it's starting to rain now, but I'd like to get some more stuff planted here soon. And yeah, it's a good lifestyle. I enjoy it.
And that sounds so amazing. Obviously, I mean, I have no idea about farming. I'm a city person, so born and bred in the city, so more of a concrete jungle around me, and I'm quite happy in the cities as well. But I also enjoy the outdoors, and the countryside, and your place. And hearing about the farm just sounds idyllic there. So in terms of, obviously now, you're having your routine, and so for you're getting in touch with your end users to get those beta tester feedback and so forth. What do you now do to organize your day? Do you prepare the day before, or you have something in the morning that you sit down? I heard you mentioning meditation. Is that something you now do on a regular basis? How do you start your day? Is that a typical routine that you have?
So you have to be very flexible in Costa Rica, right? So yes, I have plans that I try to have in my calendar and have those healthy times of like self-care. I don't always follow it because you might be in the car in the morning and now there's traffic and you're an hour and a half late home, and it cuts into that time. So there is a need for flexibility. Give me just 2 seconds. I'm gonna go off camera and I'll keep talking, but grabbing my charger. Um, but yeah, you need to be flexible, and I try to like do as much meditation as I can because um, there's so much benefit behind that. Like I at least every morning before I get out of bed, just do like a quick 5 minutes of calming my brain before the day starts, and being able to like have that energy to go through the day, and really um, you know yeah, I can't speak more about meditation or better about meditation than that. It's great.
No, that's actually good. So do you have a fixed routine for meditation in terms of, is it every morning? Like, as I know it's not happening every morning, but is it like a morning meditation or evening meditation to close your day? Or is that something you do to close your day? So you're having, like a stock take of the day. Okay, how was my day? And then you're, listing things down and checking off the list, or you're just happy that the day went amazing today, and you're just meditating on that. Or is it like a morning meditation where you're calming yourself and centering yourself, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready for what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. So I focus. I do both sometimes. It depends on the day, but I definitely start out in the morning, like 3 to 5 minutes of just like bringing myself to my breath and like, connecting with my breathing, and calming my mind, and like positive affirmations of like working through my day, and then I don't always do it in the afternoon. It's kind of with the startup life. It's kind of you
Mm,
never know what's going to happen. Like the other day, I had like an investor reach out to us, and he's like, "Hey, can you meet today?" And it's like, of course, like you can't say no, right? Like
yes,
what if they don't talk to us again? This might be our one opportunity. And the reality is too is you never know who that person knows and can
of course.
help us succeed. So it's yeah, it's a journey for sure.
And I love this, and thank you very much for sharing such an amazing journey and being open and vulnerable about your journey as well for the listeners and viewers to take away from today. I'm sure they've taken away lots of golden nuggets that were available in this conversation we just had. So there's a question that just came to my mind. It was, what advice would you give your people used to say your younger self. So instead of younger self, your self in 10 years ago, what advice would you give that person, which is you 10 years ago?
Um, I think one of the most important things in life is vulnerability, like being truly vulnerable, not only with the people that you love that are around you, but be vulnerable to yourself, and be nice to yourself and forgive yourself. Um, but that vulnerability, like since I've started being vulnerable, it's really like changed the trajectory of my life in a positive way. And
Mm,
obviously you need to like understand like who to be vulnerable with. Like you shouldn't do that to
of
everybody,
course.
but it's so important, and it really truly changed my life, and I highly recommend it to anybody to you know don't bottle up your feelings. Like you made the metaphor earlier about the cup, right? Like it's spilling over. So find
Mm-hmm.
what's healthy for you to empty that cup that is not unhealthy, like drinking or drugs or uh, you know, any kind of maladaptive um,
Mm-hmm.
behavior is not healthy. And so just taking care of yourself is number one, because you can't take care of anybody else if you're not healthy. And that was a problem for me in the past too, is I put everybody first besides myself, and it got away from me.
I, and I appreciate you obviously being vulnerable in today's episode as well, and sharing this with millions of listeners that will be listening to this, because it will be left on my profile and your profile, and it will go onto Spotify, Apple later on in after a few months as a podcast as well, so that more people will be able to listen to this. And I love that that what you just shared, that you will give tell your self at 10 years ago from what you know now, which is just bringing us to a wrap up moment now. And before we wrap this up, I ask all my guests, what would you like to leave the listeners and the viewers who are viewing this live now, or listening to this later on, with? What would you like to leave them with?
Yeah, I would say to your listeners, like if you're listening to this right now and you're truly struggling with whether it be PTSD, depression, anxiety, you feel like you're alone a lot of the time, but you're not. Like you're not, and I've gotten better. I still struggle, but I'm telling you, you need to have hope that you will get better, and put the work in and feel that pain. And
Oh.
get through it.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So we
I
just
mean,
lost you for a few seconds, but yeah.
have have hope in and that you're going to get better, and you will. So I'll leave it at that.
I I love that. Thank you very much for ending it on such a wonderful share there for everybody to take away. So people who are listening to this live on Instagram now, or you're listening to this as a podcast bit later on as well. If you had any inspirational moment, but when we were having our conversation, you found it inspiring, you found something that sparked up in you, now is our duty to share this with whomever just came into your mind. Tag that person, share this episode with them for them to watch it, because that's all we need. We need others to also get that spark moment and take that step they might be waiting for, because we don't know who's woken up or gone to bed thinking of a better day. And if you had the spark or a inspirational moment listening to this episode, it might just create the same momentum for them, and momentum is what we need to get us going. Thank you very much, Andrew, for your time today and sharing such an amazing journey.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope your listeners enjoy.
Thank you very much. So everybody, I'll recommend to follow Andrew. I will be tagging his Instagram as well on the post. So follow that and check out the website as well, which was mentioned, or it will be tagged on his it's on his profile, the link to the website as well. So Andrew, thank you very
Thanks.
much for coming
Thanks so
down.
much.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye bye.